Come on in, have a seat. Thank you for joining me today. I know I have been missing for quite a few months, but I did promise you at the end of season 3, I was going to bring people on to actually do a, interview about me and introduce season 4, which is Have You Met Me? Today, I have a very special guest, special in so many different ways. He was actually on my one of my episodes where I interviewed him over the phone, and now he's joining me here. His name is Brandon Donaldson, and let me go ahead and have him introduce himself.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Dr. Brandon Donaldson. I am a licensed and registered pharmacist and also a board-certified sexologist.
Everyone thinks they know me until they actually meet me. So tonight, I'm going to ask that hard question to a very good friend of mine, and we're going to be talking about me, the good, the bad, the ugly, some of the parts that people just don't want to say out loud. So we're going to have the hard conversation, and I'm just curious as to know, what influence I've had in people's lives. So I invited Brandon back because he is a special person to me. He actually has shown me some things outside of the many books that he's given me to read. He's actually helped me through my season 1, which was my healing process. He probably doesn't even know that. And here I am telling you what you have done for me, but now I'm going to ask you some hard questions, and I really want you to be brutally honest.
And I usually am.
Yeah, you are. But maybe not brutally. Maybe just honest, right? Have you met me? So, first time you met me. The very first time you met me face to face.
Mm-hmm.
What did you really think?
First off, you're incredibly short. Absolutely beautiful. Right? We did meet at Expectation, right, for breakfast. And it was kind of an enlightening experience. I didn't have any expectations walking in. I saw you walk in. We sat down. We ordered. You began to tell me about yourself in a very detailed manner. Pretty much all of your relationship trauma. You just kind of dumped it all there.
Wow.
But it came from a place where I knew that you were safe enough to give me that information. And if I did feel safe enough for you to do that, that spoke volumes on what type of relationship we were building.
Okay.
And not only that, you were also probably gauging, what would I do with this information? Would I attack you with this information? Would I use it against you in any manner? So me having that and being able to discern what type of information I am receiving and how to best use this in the best manner, it was up to me to protect that information rather than use it against.
So something you said that I opened up, which I will tell y'all I normally do not do. Why do you think I did that? Why do you think I opened up and regurgitated all of, like you said, my relationship trauma? Why do you think I did that?
Well, from our previous conversations that we had, before we actually physically met, I believe we had a bond that was set up to where you felt safe enough to divulge that information. Otherwise, you wouldn't, right? Nobody is vulnerable right off. Right?
Yes.
So vulnerability comes with a certain level of trust. I have built a high enough level of trust for you to divulge such information.
So, the reason why I specifically asked that question is because I know I talked about it in some of my previous episodes that, going out on dates, which I have, been out on dates, and they never seem to want to take the time to get to know who I am. And yes, it's true, your
Mhm.
answer, but I'm just going to elaborate on it. It's because of the conversations, you're absolutely right, that we had prior to us meeting. You took the time. I mean, we had very insightful conversations on the phone, wouldn't you
For
agree?
sure.
And we asked those probing questions. And I know I asked a lot of questions, especially when I knew what your background was. I asked a lot of questions, and you never seemed to feel uncomfortable. And I noticed that sometimes getting to know someone from the very beginning, it's an uncomfortable feeling because you're like, I don't want to divulge the good, the bad, and the ugly, which I think I did on the first date. I really did. But I felt comfortable enough to do so. So I thank you for allowing me to feel comfortable. I'm going to go on to the next question. Are you ready for it? um, you kind of already answered this. What was your honest first impression of me the moment that you met? That was, I would say, that was intertwined with your answer, or do you want to elaborate on that? With your honest first impression of me.
Um, well, my first impression of you, especially when you had probably about a good 20, 25 minutes of you just speaking. My first impression is that you needed an ear, right? You've gone through a lot
Hmm.
and probably not necessarily being heard. So I gave you the room and the stage for you to be heard. So I didn't say anything. I let you go. I let you talk until you realized that you were talking too much. And
I
you
did.
peeled
I
back
did.
and said, okay, I've talked this whole time. You didn't say anything. Say what you got to
Yeah,
say.
and you still didn't talk. You still let me have the floor. And that didn't scare you away. You weren't like, oh my God, this woman's been through some things. I don't want no part of that. A lot of people would not want any part of knowing what I went through in my past. I share that in season 3. I have a story to tell. And some of those stories are dark. And some men would take off running, seeing me as a damaged woman or a bitter woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I not be bitter? I get asked that all the time. How are you still happy and smiling? Why would I not be bitter? You didn't take off running, so why? That's I want to know why you didn't. Why didn't he take off running?
Well, one of the things is that if we are being uh, together and we're trying to build a bond, I have to have some level of empathy and compassion. If I don't have that with anyone, because yes, we all have a story to tell, but that is it. We all have trauma. We all have problems. We all have issues. To say that someone doesn't, that's
Hmm.
that's stupid, right? Let's just be totally honest. It's not fair to say that, hey, I have my problems, but you're not supposed to have problems that you bring. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So it's having the compassion to let you know, yes, you have your problems.
Okay.
Yes, you have your issues. But let's see where this can lead, because I also have my problems, my issues.
Mm.
We are all imperfect people, right?
True.
So to seek perfection is erroneous from the get-go.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So accepting the person that's in front of me is how we move forward in any type of relationship, whether it's friendship or romantic.
Good point. Good point. That made me feel better. Because I could tell you when I got in my car, I actually was like, what the fuck were you thinking? that was literally like my thing. Like,
That's
he's
hilarious.
never. So, what's one moment with me that stood out to you the most? One moment with me. And just so you guys know, known him for 4 years, so we've had some moments. We've had some moments, so I just want to know, what's the moment?
One moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, it seems that I guess it's not a moment. It's several moments that we've had where it ended up with me saying, that's not the Keisha that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You've told me about guys say this, you're like combative, you're masculine, you're, all this extra stuff that a lot of men tend to think are quote unquote undesirable. Right?
Yes.
I don't get that Keisha.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of odd where a lot of other men have this view about you and I don't, right? I guess it speaks volume to our relationship.
Did y'all hear that? He doesn't get that. He doesn't get the negative. You get the sweet level sometimes, right?
Well, I mean, I can still see it when you interact with other people.
Oh, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But with me, you don't get that. Right? You don't give that to me.
And I guess that goes along with this. What's something that I do that leaves a strong impression? Good, strong impression, and then a bad, strong impression. What's something that I do?
I guess I can sum it up as you lead with your heart. Right? The great thing about it is you have a big heart. You want to give, right? You're incredibly loyal. However, on the flip side of that, you make a lot of emotional decisions too, which may not necessarily be the best decision in the moment.
Yeah.
If you just take a beat and think about what's going on and then move forward, then that might be better. But in most situations, you lead with your best heart in mind. You may curse someone out. That doesn't mean that you're not necessarily leading in the best way, but you're expressing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But even through all of that, you can still move forward in the best way and do what's best for someone because you care about them.
Well, it's funny you say that I lead with my emotions because I would say that I have my emotions under control. Now, back in the day, yeah, I'm an Aries, so I go 0 to 100 without thinking. But I think I have subsided in that in some where I don't quickly react like I used to. I think I do pull back and I think about some things, and you're staring at me like, no, you don't.
Well, no, there is growth. And I've seen the growth over 4 years. Okay. Initially, no. Right? Initially, no. However, over time, especially being with me, you have learned to breathe for things. You still pop off? Yes. Everybody has their triggers to where they go from 0 to 100. As much patience as I have and as calm as I normally am, like I still have my triggers, right? If anybody messes with kids, then regardless of how calm I am, I'm going full force because that's how I am.
Yes.
So everybody has it. It's not bad to have that. It's just being cognizant of it.
Gotcha. Okay. I actually learned something new about me. How would you describe me to someone who has never met me? So describe me to them.
Okay.
They've never met me.
So what you're gonna get someone with a slight Napoleon complex, right? Yet, again, what I said, the biggest heart, right? If you are on her great side, you have a friend for life, literally. She is going to be down for you. No judgments here or there. She may judge you just a little bit, but we all do. But no judgments for the most part. She's going to be your road dog, right? She's going to be there through thick and thin, and sometimes to a fault, to be honest. There's times where she stays around longer than she should.
Be real. What is something about me that could be difficult to deal with? I don't know if I want to hear this.
Well, that could be difficult to deal with. It's just generally your fiery nature. It's not really difficult on my end, but I can see other people having problems
No, I have
because you being quote unquote the Aries, right? Typical Aries, um, I guess combative, so to speak, or masculine, or what people would think masculine is aggressive, right?
okay.
And not necessarily assertive. You challenge the thoughts of people, right? Instead of just going along with it, which in my eyes is a great trait for a woman to be able to challenge a man. Because if he cannot withstand challenge, how is he going to battle anyone else?
True.
Right?
True. Yes.
Because our lives are filled with challenges. Granted, he doesn't want to come home to the challenge. I understand that. But also, if you're not doing correctly, you want someone to kind of right your ship and say, hey, I don't think this is the right way we should go. Right? And be able to change that thought process, right? Instead of just saying, yes, dear, I'll go with it, and then lead them into the wrong area. No. If she is down for the team, she should be able to say, hey, this is the wrong way. I think we're going the wrong way, and be able to open up that conversation.
So with me dating, meeting a new guy, he's going to find that difficult, me being
quote unquote combative. Yes.
Oh, wow.
He wants someone to be his peace instead of creating peace within himself and letting that radiate into her.
Okay.
And if I am peaceful within myself and I bring you into my peace,
okay,
then that quote unquote submission, that's where that comes into. You feel trustworthy from me. You feel that I am trustful to protect you. So if I am calm, then you'll remain calm. If I am up in arms and thrashing about and having a tantrum, you're going to do the same.
Okay.
Now, if it is a point where I'm throwing a tantrum and you're not, then what does that say? Because in my eyes, masculine energy is based in protection. If I'm thrashing about and I'm not thinking about your protection or my own, I'm not in a masculine energy.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
If you're just looking at me like I'm stupid and I'm going around and I'm knocking over tables, I'm punching in walls, and I'm doing all that, and I'm acting like a little child, and you're just looking at me, that looks poorly on me. How could you think that I could protect you and I'm doing that?
Okay.
Remaining calm, assessing a situation.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
That's protection. And being able to move in the best manner. That's protection. That's masculine.
So that leads me to my next question. What's the red flag that I may not see in myself? What's my red flag? If you can name two, if there's two. Look at me saying if there's two. if.
To a certain level, you people please.
That's a red flag. People pleasing.
Yes.
Okay.
People pleasing means that you put others so high on the pedestal that you forget yourself. That's bad.
Okay.
That's why you stay in relationships longer than you should, because you're looking out, oh, well, this is for them. No, you have to also look at yourself and say, I'm going to protect me so I can do for others. But the moment you forget about yourself, it's the moment that the relationship breaks down because it's no longer equal.
Wow. People pleaser.
Yes.
Is there a second one?
I
don't know why I said that. I should have just stuck with the first one, like for real. I should have just stuck with the first one.
Those who, well, that's natural. If someone triggers you, being able to notice the trigger and being mindful of not attacking them right off. But that's something that therapy works out, right?
Okay.
Also, knowing when to remove yourself from a bad situation.
Okay.
Right. I think this still kind of rides along the people pleasing, but not so much. Because even if you're in a bad situation and things are going wrong, to just say, I'm done, and remove yourself, that matters, right? That means you actually do care about yourself. You have a lot of self esteem, self worth enough to say, I am not going to tolerate this.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do it calmly. You don't have to scream. You don't have to yell. I'm not going to tolerate this any longer. You can stay over there. I'm going this way. Okay?
Yeah.
And it can just be that. Okay? They can scream, yell, thrash out. That's fine. But as long as you are calm within yourself,
mm-hmm.
and you know this is not working.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes.
Action.
A lot of times, on certain relationships, you don't close that door and lock it. You leave it slightly cracked, where people can come in, bug you again, and you're like, oh, this is happening again, right? And it's kind of where you can focus in on yourself enough to say, I don't want this relationship. You have a great day. And it can just be that.
And you're absolutely right, because I would say that I used to say I would be proud that I don't have any enemies. Like, even all my exes, men that I've been with in long term, but I've never had a short term relationship, but still that used to be like something in my head, like, well, we're still cool, you know what I mean? Because I don't want enemies. I don't want no one to not to like me, if that's even a thing, right? But I get what you're saying. Who gives a shit whether or not he's an ex for a reason, right? I mean, I say that they're exes for a reason. Move past it. I totally get where you're coming from, but that is probably like a weakness, which kind of leads me into this next question. Have you ever had a moment where you didn't like me? What happened?
Yes.
What?
Well, mainly because when we first met, you were a smoker.
Yeah, I used to do that.
Yeah, and that's the great part. You used to.
Yeah, I used to smoke.
Past tense.
Yeah, cigarettes, y'all. Not the. Well, not that. Either one is bad, I guess, right?
Not weed, but yes, you weren't necessarily looking at what's best for your lungs.
Yeah.
Or your health. The fact that you stopped spoke volumes.
It did, didn't it? You know how hard that shit was? It was not easy. But here's the funny thing about that is the doctor actually said I couldn't do it cold turkey. Just to like, the fuck? I know you didn't tell me I can't do something. Because that's not going yet. Not going. I'm going to do it just because you told me I can't do it.
Yeah, and there's different methods, even from like, and I'll put on my pharmacist hat. There are some people that actually do need, help with it, whether it's with nicotine patch, nicotine gum, any nicotine products, or they would use Chantix, right, which is an oral tablet that they can use to help them stop, or Zyban, which is also an oral tablet that can use to help them stop smoking. And many times they would still relapse within that, right? Some people, just because they smoke so much, it may take them a little bit harder. It is a mental fortitude to actually deal with the withdrawals and everything. It can be a lot. But there are some people, much like you, that can stop cold turkey because they said they don't want to do it anymore, and it's their conviction that pulls them through.
I think for me it was I was told that, well, because honestly, not that I'm proud to say that, I didn't start smoking until I was 40 something years old. So God, and people were like, I remember one time I went to the emergency room and she's like, are you a smoker? And I was like, yes. She goes, when did you start? And when I told her, she said, I'm sorry, what? Like, she thought I was going to say like in my teens. And yeah, I was what we considered like a late, not bloomer, I guess. But so that was the time that you didn't like me?
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
Oh.
felt like you didn't care about your
Huh. I mean, I could see that. So another hard question, and then I have two more
health.
after this one. Do you think I am easy or hard to understand as a person? Understanding me. Was it easy or was it hard?
To be totally honest, I thought it was easy. After you divulged your incredible past. After you divulged your past, I realized where you sit and what you've been through, what triggered you,
Okay.
and how I should move going forward, and what you needed.
Okay.
Right. So with that, it was very easy to understand you. Do we still have disagreements? For sure, but I still understand your position, even in the disagreements.
Do you think I am someone who is ready for a relationship? Why or why not?
That's an odd question because we're already in a relationship.
Yeah.
So I guess automatically yes. That's still weird. But generally, yeah, I think you are. I think most people are. It's just other people don't have the compassion and the empathy and understanding for others to be able to extend that. They just want what they want and they want it now.
Mm-hmm.
And that tends to be an issue and a clash instead of actually sitting there and accepting the person that's in front of them and trying to understand where they have been and where they're trying to go and see if that aligns with them. There's like, hey, if you ain't giving it up on such and such day, I'm out, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you are too loud. I don't like that. And that's fine, right? Whatever people's have their rubrics on dating, then they can have that. But they also need to be open to tailoring that if it's not working for them. And a lot of people tend to stick to their convictions and say, this is what I think I want. Said that in a very particular way. This is what I think I want. And then even when they get that, they still may pivot or they may shift like, nah, this is not where I want to be, because commitment is hard.
Yeah.
You can get a lot of people, but keeping them, that's the true test.
Yeah, and I think that I went through that roller coaster ride thinking that this is what I thought I wanted. And I used to like brag about being single and all this and the freedom of it. And trust me, there's so many positives to that, being single, the freedom of it. But then on the flip side, I even thought, but I don't ever want to make a decision by being vulnerable. Like living by myself and all the things, it gets lonely. So, but I never wanted to make a decision based on being vulnerable, because you end up in the worst. Second husband, prime example, because I was afraid of being alone. But it's so sad that I'm even sharing this again, but like I was only single after my first divorce, like not even 6 months before I was engaged again to get married. So I never knew what it was like to actually be alone, be single, actually self-reflect, and honestly, like I said at the beginning of this, you actually helped me to realize it's okay to be alone, and you might want to heal past some of that trauma. Don't bring that shit in to the next relationship. Bring that shit into another relationship. Just like you said, relationships require work and commitment and this, that, and the other. But if I have all these bags underneath me and I'm trying to, hey, open the door, I'm coming through, it just adds unnecessary on top of what we already have going on.
I hear what you're saying. To a certain extent, so being single is a great thing to quote unquote heal, right? The only thing you're healing while you're single, if you just got out of a relationship, is the grieving from having someone.
Mm-hmm.
You're not actually healing to be better in a relationship, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Because when you're single, You're not in the relationship to test whatever's going on. So you can be single for years and think that you have it together until you get into the relationship and realize, oh, this is not what I thought it was, or apparently I need a little bit more work, because when you get with someone, they show you the mirror of yourself. And now you have to look within yourself. Is this the real work? Yes, that's the real work, right? You cannot work on how to be in a relationship without being in a relationship.
That is true.
That doesn't make any sense. You have to be in a relationship. You have to go through the work. Now, if you come out of that to where you're both working and in a relationship and it's not moving forward in the manner that you both would like it to, then you can break up amicably. But if you're still working on that, you know what to work on because you've seen that mirror, you started the work, then you can continue that work on the outside.
I'm going to come back to that because that's actually definitely another show, right? Mm-hmm. Because I get where you're coming from, mm-hmm. but, and I can only speak on myself, mm-hmm. being in so many not so good for me kind of relationships. Mm-hmm. I think that it goes back to what you were saying, that I probably should have jumped out of the ship early on, but yet I stayed and I fought and with a bucket of water trying to empty the sinking ship. Like I'm just trying to save it for whatever reason. And I probably didn't need to do that. I should have just jumped out with the life raft. I went with this whole little scenario here, but
it's like, yeah, you did the Titanic.
I did, yeah. Like sinking ship. But when you're saying work on, you can't be a master of being in a relationship unless you're in a relationship. Just make sure it's a healthy one.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not taking away your answer. Your answer is absolutely right, but just make sure it's a healthy one. I went from verbally abusive, physically abusive, so healthy one kind of thing. And for the life of me, I don't know why I didn't jump out of those ships earlier. When you said that, it's like sticking in my head. But this is a two-part. Last question. And then I want to ask you some questions, because you brought on some very interesting points that I don't want to leave the show without getting that clarification. And then we're going to have our lesson before we end the show. So the last question is a two-part question. What is something you think I've grown since we met? And what is something I still need to work on?
I guess both something that you've grown and something that you need to work on are boundaries. Mm-hmm. You've grown because initially you didn't have any boundaries, or you had very, very little boundaries with most people, right? Now that you are setting boundaries, you're giving yourself a lot more room in relationships for you to stand up for yourself and say what you will not tolerate any longer. Where you need to grow with boundaries is, even though you set the boundaries, enforcing them seems to still be a problem.
Oh.
Yeah, it's easy to set, right? We can set down anything, right? And say, hey, this is what I said and I mean it. But then when it happens, then people won't take your boundaries seriously if you don't enforce it. That's the scary part, because now when you enforce your boundaries, you're actually pushing the person away. And that's where it can be scary, especially if you have abandonment issues.
Oh.
Which most people tend to have.
So I've improved on my boundaries. I still need to improve on enforcing.
Yeah, there's a difference between setting and enforcing boundaries.
Okay.
You can set all day, which is great. That's a great first step, because you need to set them first.
Okay.
But still a little leery on pushing back and actually enforcing the boundary, right?
Okay.
You do it with your brother, right? You say you're gonna hang up, or you just plain hang up, right? That is enforcing the boundary when you do hang up, right? Because you're not gonna tolerate any type of disrespect, whether he thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic, but that's not across the board, right?
Oh, I don't do it with everyone, is what you're saying.
Right.
Huh.
Because you may have some fear that if I push them away, they're going to go away. And I don't want that. I just need you to stop what you're doing. But they're not taking heed to that. Because they're not respecting. That's the beauty about boundaries, is that it's something for us to protect us with. It's not for the actions of others. Just because you would put down a boundary doesn't mean that they have to heed the boundary. It's just saying, if you continue to do X, you're going to do Y, right? And it's just when they do X, then you also need to do Y. If you don't do the Y, then that becomes the problem.
Gotcha.
Because now they're going to be like, oh, she's just saying it. Okay. But also being able to say, hey, I mean it. If you continue to do this, I'm going to do this. You can do whatever you'd like to, but just know when you do it the next time, this is what's going to happen.
Stick to that. Stick to that.
Yes.
So I just want to say thank you so very much for joining me on my comeback show.
Sure.
It was very interesting. I did learn some things about myself. Honestly, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I think that when two people sit down, friendship, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, and all the things, people are not having these hard discussions. What a great conversation with Brandon, and I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and sit with me and have that hard conversation. Have you met me? So the assignment for today is have that hard conversation with someone that's close to you. We were talking about relationships. Relationship doesn't need to necessarily mean husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. You're in a relationship with your coworkers, you're in a relationship with your best friends, all the things. Have that conversation. We are so afraid to have those hard conversations, but sometimes having those hard conversations can be definitely freeing to you. So free yourself. Find out what the person that's closest to you thinks about you. I plan on having Brandon back on because, as him being a sex therapist, it's kind of I'm curious to know what that looks like in a relationship when you're having difficulty performing with your mate, or is there more behind having sex with someone, right? There's so much more behind, and I think that we don't face that, look at it, deal with it. But so I do plan on having him back, and we're going to probably dive deep in that aspect of things. But in the meantime, I want to say, just to recap, I learned some things about myself, good, bad, and indifferent. And at the end of the day, I think the probing question is, what am I going to do with all of this knowledge of, having these hard conversations with people that matter to me, and so he's starting off season 4. I have plenty more. I plan on interviewing people that I work with, girls, boys, men, women, all the things, and let's see, what did Kiwi learn from these people, these relationships? What did I learn? And at the end of the day, the reason why I'm on this quest is to see, you know, is it me? Because, you know, when I started this whole dating thing and saying, okay, I'm ready to date. I done healed, I did the work, now I'm ready to date. And then I'm out there and I'm dating, and it's just like, it's very frustrating. So I want to know, am I the common denominator? Because if I am, I'm willing to hold myself accountable, make the adjustments so I can find my Mr. Right, and not Mr. Right now passing by. I want to find my Mr. Right. Just turned 51 on Saturday, so I'm you know, officially over over that hill. I just want to say thank you again. And if you haven't done so, why not? Stop and smile at somebody today. Tell them that you're beautiful. Let me tell you, you are absolutely beautiful. You're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful. Is your heart beautiful? Is your mind beautiful? What makes you beautiful? Have those hard questions. Find out. Ask somebody. Have you met me?